Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, plus iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. You can also take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with a wonderful singer from Ontario, Canada, award-winning singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist from Shelbourne, which is Ontario, Canada. He's got a unique genre of a blend of pop, rock, folk, and country. He's got a new album called Red Omen, and he's played over in 100 U.S. radio in over 600 stations worldwide, and he's also won some awards as well, too, and also got some interesting music you can check out. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get into all the accolades, live from beautiful Ontario, Canada, with a cup of coffee and a couple of lights, a jug of wine, some bread, and thou, Ed Roman. Ed, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me on the Mike Wagner Show. Hey, I gotta ask, any relation to Robert?
You know what? I've gotten asked that several times throughout my lifetime. The answer is no. And of course, while you're drinking your coffee, and I love your mug, by the way, too. So I was going to show you mine too in just a minute, but it's not with me at this time too. And I just have to say, I've been saying, hey, I really this Wagner, that Wagner, any Wagner where you live. The answer is no. So I'd rather be just a simple Mike Wagner. The only relation I have is with my kids when I grow up and say, hey, you know him, so we have all that.
Well, it's good to be the only original Mike Wagner. That's not a bad thing.
That's a good thing, too. And, of course, there's different Mike Wagners in other genres, but it's good to be different as well, too. So I have to say that. She's an award-winning singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist from Shelbourne, Ontario, Canada. You have a unique blend of pop, rock, folk, and country. You got a new album out called Red Omen. You also won some awards and got some significant airplay. And before we get into all that, tell us how you got started.
Well, I usually like to preface with that. I grew up too close to the hydro wires. Why do I do what I do? Music, growing up in the 70s was paramount when I was a kid, especially with older folks, because my brothers and sisters were far older than I was. And it seemed to be remembering lyrics and what the relevancy to what the lyrics were, what were epic in terms of how people felt from day to day. And I remember moments in time like when Lennon was killed or Presley died, coming into my home after school and seeing family members sitting around the kitchen table crying because the impact of these kinds of artists had on people. So I guess for me, it had this sort of a noble-esque kind of quality to it that as I've become older, realized there's many things that are attached to it, from philosophy to history to mechanics, dexterity, prowess, the ability to share it in ways to change the way the cosmetic of a certain situation is, whether it be through charity work or just changing the framework of somebody's day-to-day life. That has an extreme potency for me, and I followed it wholeheartedly. And it seemed like a lot of kids growing up, we all fell in love with the possibility of, and with that said, robustly chased after what that represented, especially when it came to practicing and searching for ways to find higher education and everything that was related to that. For me, it's a necessity. I grew up struggling with dyslexia, and music was a way for me to really be able to break out of my academic shell, if you will. And as a result, it's odd studying dyslexia and being actually an ambassador for dyslexia now. I come to understand that there are so many people in the art field that all have struggled with this issue in their lives, and art and music, I'm speaking of for myself, has given us that avenue. So it was really through the crux of a problem, and a devout mom who spent a lot of time not only with me but my sister, who also struggled with it, making sure that we didn't fall through the proverbial cracks. We still, to this day, I still struggle with it, but I come to understand it as a gift, in that from that negative into the positive, for me, because it gives me a sort of three-dimensional way of thinking about things. I was asked in an interview the other day about songwriting and dreaming and stuff, and I said, well, to the imagination of the songwriter, we're almost living like a dreamlike state sometimes when we're thinking about storytelling and writing. So that problem gives me that ability to step outside of the framework of a normal pedestrian environment and think a little differently about life.
That is amazing to you. Talk about songwriting, dreams, and everything else. And do you think a lot of their dreams would be telling you something? Would that be included in songs as well, too?
Well, that's a great question, Mike, because the Aboriginal community, they see the waking state as actually a dream. And the dream state is when you're tracing reality. So, I have had prolific and highly effective dreams that have definitely taken me down a road of writing, which sometimes isn't always, merry, but it's part of the human condition, and needs to be discussed and looked at. And at the same time, there are some of the very same things that have in my waking state that I daydream, are catalysts for many ideas and stories, because they're superimposed over a framework of my own feelings and the things that I'm going through as a person, in this moment in time, as well as the things that I hear about from other people. You can't anecdotally not know, about something that's going on in somebody's life, or an experience that they've had, or something that's going on, and see a parallel between your own, and it sort of circumnavigates the exact same process of thinking about it. So I find it to be a humbling experience, to tell you the truth, Mike, because sometimes I'm not entirely sure where all that correlated information comes from.
And it's amazing too. Some people write about the life experiences, and or just taking some stories and whatever else. But your last album, Letters from High Latitudes, which is a homage to your Ontario home, a critically acclaimed vehicle for your social, political, earthly conscious, and globally aware messages. And it's amazing how you can transform that. You can just tell us a little bit about that, and what are some of the things you need to get out to your audience?
Well, socially, politically conscious. I grew up in a family, and my dad was a devout public servant. I don't like using the word politician, because it has a weird connotation to it today. And my dad was without going into it too much, one of the most well-respected municipal politicians. He was a mayor of our township for over 30 years. Wow. He was chairman of York Region. He was also the police commissioner for 14 years. And he was the first ever coalition candidate in the history of federal politics, which meant the Liberals and the Conservatives asked him to run as an independent, and he actually won. So nice. the idea of what it means to represent a group of people and what we go through as a group of people in that experience is definitely defined in my writing process. I think sociology and history plays a great part of what storytelling represents. In fact, they are definitions and moments, and snapshots of who we are at this moment in time. With that said, I'm very outspoken about the things that I find that are unjust. You won't literally be giving you a black and white definition of what it is. What I found most effective that my father taught me is to look at both sides of the objective, the negative and the positive, and in the middle, you will ultimately find the true answer. Not the answer that's right, or the answer that's wrong, but the answer that needs to be there. And that's inside of some of the things that I write about. People are like, well, what do you mean by that? And I mean, it's easy to define it and frame it as socio-political, and it is, but I'm really just trying to get you to think about your own situation and not define it as anything direct That's sometimes one of the most dangerous things about the idea of labeling, and the dogmatic practices that then pursue those labeling things, is that it can really perturb the growth process of an idea. So to me, lyric writing is metaphorical, and I hope that it allows some level of depth to ideas for the listener. And I'm happy to experience it myself. Like I said, the writing process for me is extremely humbling, Mike, and I'm glad that I do it not only for myself but other people.
That was amazing too. What are some of the issues that you're more concerned about in your township and in Canada right now?
Well, the greater part of the problem for me really is the festering, let's say, mastizing issues that are going on in federal politics, which have been for many years now greatly colluded by corporate red tape and lobbying and things that really, in the grander scheme of things, have arrested us and as a country. For instance, with our money that's in circulation, I mean, the Bank of Canada, up until 1974, as a nation, our debt was about $18 billion. And people are like, well, that's a lot of money. But in the grand scheme of things today, Mike, it's not. And we had a gold and silver standard. And with that gold and silver standard, built an incredible amount of federal infrastructure in this country, from the St. Lawrence Seaway to schools, hospitals, roads, you name it. Everything that, even land grants for people coming back from the Second World War for them to be able to buy farms. And prior to 1974, there were dividend checks that were being handed out to septuagenarians and octogenarians from the Bank of Canada because of the money that was coming back in 74, when that private money lending in backdoor residual money started coming in with interest. Within 10 years, between 1974 and 1984, Canada's debt went from $18 billion to $480 billion in debt with interest. And I think that's the bigger part of the issue. For instance, when I talk about this kind of stuff, most Canadians and that part of the greater Western Hemisphere know not of that issue, despite there have been public lawsuits where they've won against the Bank of Canada, and yet nothing is being done about it. This is one of the biggest issues, is this extreme amount of apathy caught up in the circus of what all federal politics really represents. When really there needs to be a reset function. And a lot of times that will lead to conversation that scares a lot of people.
And of course, the big question is, who's going to hit the reset button? That's a big question.
Well, we do. We are, as my father pointed out, we are the country. We are the ones that are the ones that have children, work, pay our taxes, our mortgages, live, exist, breathe, and die. It's not the government that is the country. So it becomes our responsibility in order to make that change. And if it means cleaning house, so be it. Those are the kinds of diligent, deliberate decisions that need to be made in order to remove a lot of unnecessary bureaucracy, which is really, as I said, arrested a lot of our development.
And that's something as well, too. And we'll talk about one of your humanitarian efforts along with some of your music. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device, and subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. We're here with a singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist from Shelbourne, Ontario, Canada, Ed Roman, with a unique mix of pop, rock, folk, and country. And of course, he Also has that album Red Omen, also Letters from High Latitudes. You can also find his music online as well too. And before we get to some of your music as well too, and some of your accolades, where's some of your favorite artists growing up?
Holy Mike, that's like the Titanic sized question, because it's very wide. And I think some people might be like, well, how can you like two of those different artists in the same sort of person, right? I grew up listening to stuff that was happening in my house. So brothers and sisters were listening to everything from like Deep Purple to Bruce Springsteen to John Denver. Then I had my grandparents who were listening to like Eastern European gypsy music. And
Really?
I fell in love with that. My grandmother was also a huge Frank Sinatra fan, Elvis Presley, the Beatles, everything that you could think of. Then my mom and dad's generation, which was of the jazz generation, I was listening to everything from Duke Ellington to Cole Porter, Jerome Kern, fell in love with people like Charles Mingus and Buddy Rich, and anybody that was really from that jazz realm. Eventually went to college to study music, jazz performance, because I love that so much. So I could mention hundreds of people inside of that spectrum, but it all has to do with mojo, that sense of rawness and true earthly human barbaric yelps, whether it be melodic or lyrically, something that really defines the moment. I remember as a young person, I was handed a couple of Jaco Pastorius albums, famous American electric bassist and composer, Weather Report, Jaco Pastorius. On the back of his first record, Herbie Hancock wrote for his liner notes, the definition of an artist is one who has the ability to fuse their life with the rhythm of the times.
Interesting.
And with that said, there are a large grouping, but yet very small in the grand scheme of the amount of music which has really been created in this world. That's for me have that gratitude and impact to the living moment. So but I love so much. I love rock and roll. I love funk. I love jazz. I love country. I love spoken word. I love classical music. I was on the road with a classical 100-piece orchestra for the longest time.
Wow.
I just find that music has this connectiveness, without sounding overly cliche, to all languages, all denominations, all landscapes. And I say to myself, as much as I was like, a young kid as a jazz snob going to college, like, it's all about prowess. It's all about, being able to play a certain head, by Parker or something like that. Now I understand that culturally, music is a defining moment as to who we are as people. So there have been so many people. I could Chuck Berry. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think it keeps growing. I mean, I'm nostalgically connected to a lot of music, especially from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, things I grew up with in the 80s. But music for me today has also taken on sort of a different personality, because I write and I'm so involved in what I do so often. I latch on to certain artists and study them more like a university degree for years. Buy everything by them, study all the lyrics, find out what the connectiveness is to the lyrics and their process. Because for me, somehow, anthropologically, this is what really stirs me, man. It really gets my gears rolling when I hear that. And like I said, the allegory that's really behind everything that artist has had to say. That's really special to me.
That is amazing too. And of course, you also won numerous awards as well too. You're really enthusiastic and passionate about it. You were in the 2014 Artist Music Guild nominee, and you're also a 14 and 18 International Music and Entertainment winner, and plus two-time IMEA nominee as well too, and also back-to-back 2015 and 16 Josie Show winner as well too. So you just accomplish a lot as well too. Maybe tell us a little bit about the words, and if there's anything that's missing, you can mention that as well.
I'm tickled pink, Mike, like with it all, because as much as I dreamed about doing what I'm doing, sometimes I can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I still have issues processing the amount of connectiveness I've had to so many different guilds or stations or people or whatever it may be. I'm lucky that I can do this. I feel blessed in a way, again, without sounding cliche, that my dad always said, work hard at what you really love. I don't care what it is. If it's a shoe salesman or a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon or a nurse, I don't give a, just so long as you do it well and you're passionate about it. Mm-hmm. and you're happy doing that. With that said, those basic instruments that my dad gave me, I've just kind of kept. It's been an uphill battle. It's mm-hmm. It's like Sisyphus rolling the stone. rolling the stone up the mountain, right?
Or Rolling Stones, as you would say too. Rolling Stones.
Yeah. and gathers no moss. And they're all important to me, all of those accolades. And I'm happy to see with what I've most recently been creating with the Red Omen video, the amount of festival coverage it's got, the amount of awards that we've won all over the world is staggering. And its connectiveness to the whole dyslexic society, and it's fueling the inertia behind the facilitating programs for tutoring for kids is another really big part of why I do what I do. I mean, I look, if I made billions of dollars, millions or whatever as a musician, I wouldn't need it, because I give most of it away. I just want to sustainably live warm, clean, and be able to grow food and create. And maybe I buy an old F-100 pickup truck, 1958 or something like that. But really, I'm not hooked on materialism in a sense that any of that would drive me in a way to make me change my principles. The most important thing is I keep creating honestly. And if I get an award for it, that's the icing on the cake. I mean, it's really humbling again to be recognized for that. Mm-hmm. So that's what they all mean to me. And the biggest reward, and to tell you the truth, Mike, working with Michael Stover in Pittsburgh has been a big part of that, because he's helped me immensely connect all of that with people all over the world. He believes in the music and what I've written. That was the biggest struggle even before I started doing what I was doing, is having somebody like that believed in me. Mm-hmm. And here we are today, and achieving really amazing things.
That is amazing too. We'll talk about your one song that spurned a humanitarian effort. Listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Cheers. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and Apple. Also subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. We're here with award-winning singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist from Shelbourne, Ontario, Canada, Ed Roman. He's got a unique blend of pop, rock, folk, and country as well, too. And he's also quite a number of awards as well, too. Talked about a little bit of his album, Red Omen. And he also traveled to Jamaica to deliver much needed humanitarian aid to the island while shooting a musical video for Jamaica as well too. You can just tell us all about that.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of places around the world that need help. And I was lucky enough after a long time of not really, traveling a lot for recreational purposes. I said to my partner, Kim, let's go and spend some time in Jamaica. When we were there, we made a lot of friends with staff, musicians, people in gardening services, and spent a lot of time off resort, and have been back a number of times, not gone to a resort, just because we were so disillusioned with how beautiful the island was, and you're living this sort of behind the wall experience, not realizing the extreme poverty sometimes in some cases that's going on the other side of that wall. So our idea was that we would start getting shipping barrels and filling it with things that people needed, from basic things that we take for granted sometimes, but old electronics, soap, shoes for kids, paper, books, pencils, anything that was sort of a basic necessary device that they could use from day to day, and send it. And they'd get opened at this church that's down in St. Mary's, and people would come and share in what those things were. And we started telling people about it. Neighbors and other people started donating to the cause. So that was the process of this. But the shooting of the video and the song was a part of that whole experience. It was to try to show people the other side of the island, like what's going on off the resort, from the swim up bars and bikinis and jerk chicken, which is nice.
Oh, you're making me hungry for jerk chicken.
But the island is so rich and fruitful with so much culture and experience, that I felt it behooved me to write a song. And while I was there through one of those processes, decided to shoot a video right around where we stay, in this little cabin that's just outside of Oricabessa. And everything in that video, from the people we're having conversations with to the kids that are up at 9 Mile, which is where Bob Marley grew up. Mm-hmm. And he's interred there in a crazy sarcophagus. That's all part of the video. So I was so happy to bring that to people and illustrate far more about what's going on in the island in that regard, and to be able to talk about it for such a long period of time, which I think opened up a lot of people's eyes.
That is amazing too. And have you done similar projects when it comes to humanitarian, or do you have anything that's in the works right now?
Well, I was working with Heart Songs for Veterans in the United States, and still am. That is a program that is raising money, funds for veterans that are struggling all over the United States, with every kind of thing you can think of, from paying their hydro bills to groceries to you name it. So Heart Songs conscripted a number of different musicians for acoustic performances, and the proceeds for the song go to help vets all over the United States. One of the main reasons I'm working in the United States with my manager now is because of another vet I know that's Canadian, used to be in the infantry and special forces, who would come and watch me play and sort of introduced me to Mike, and that's how we got connected. So again, they're my friends, and I'm trying to help in any way, shape, or form that I can. As I mentioned, the Red Omen project is a big part of that video, and everything that's involved, now live on Amazon Prime. Proceeds for that, for the rental or the purchase of it, are all going to help fund tutoring programs for the whole Dyslexic Society here in Canada. And I'm actually hoping that in the next year we can raise $250,000 for that process. But really, I see it as a Band-Aid effect, and I really hope it can open up a dialogue between the ministries of education to discuss a basic framework of the dyslexic methods that are actually being used, Mike, in 56 nations.
Wow.
Across the world. It was developed by Ron Davis from the Davis Dyslexia Society in the United States. And that method was very quickly and adapted and integrated into early education. But ironically, once again, not accepted into the United States or Canada yet.
Mm.
So I'm really hoping that that can change as a result of that.
What's the stipulations of having it not accepted in the U.S. and Canada? What is basically the holdup with it?
I think that they're concerned with the framework of what three-dimensional pictorial and spatial and dimensional learning is.
Mm.
And when you're academically looking at a situation, learning words, that is two-dimensional. A page and a piece of paper is that. Three-dimensional thinking is how do we bring that information off of the page in a different way? And that's what dyslexics struggle with. They struggle with the academics of what the page is saying, but they don't struggle with the possibilities of the potential of what the page is saying. Usually the argument from that will be, well, we're not entirely sure how it'll work. We don't know if we have the funding for that kind of a thing, and et cetera, et cetera. That's not been the case in the other 56 countries. In fact, it's been a pretty stable, easily integrated thing that almost seems innocuous when it comes to any major framework really being changed.
Mm-hmm.
So I question it myself, and am still navigating through that process as to why they're resistant.
Mm-hmm. And that's interesting as well too. You're helping the dyslexic community, and making awareness of that as well too. And just a few more minutes as well too. And what do you consider your most favorite project and the most challenging?
Getting up every day.
It's got to be with coffee though.
I got you, Mike. I got you, buddy. The most difficult, but it's the strangest. It's what we're talking about. It has been really tough for me as a person, especially going through school, academically struggling the way that I did, working so much of extra time just to maintain a middle grade, and feeling really quite inadequate about that whole process. Mm-hmm. Now, as I've said, that struggle, the most difficult part, but the most victorious aspect of it is that through that hindrance, that problem, the difficulty is to tell the Red Omen is an anagram of my own name. How more apropos would it be for a dyslexic to jumble his own name to create a song about the difficulties, right? And some of the allegories and myth in his own life, to do so in such a way that it ends up becoming a vehicle for just that, the idea of change and some basic ideas to the framework of education. That has been the most difficult thing for me to deal with in my life, and at the same time, the most victorious, because now that I see it coming to fruition in the way that I hadn't expected, I see its gravity. I feel its gravity, and I know its potential.
That was amazing too. And what do you consider most memorable moment when it comes to music?
My friends, the people that I've gotten to meet, that I've been able to share ideas and experiences with, because it is like a family and a bond, where communication is frequency. And that's a very special thing to me. I find it almost angelic.
That is amazing too, and it's just so amazing. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Musical influence, or because there's a lot of people that are very influential, but
you can pick either. You can pick either or. It's up to you.
I would say the people that said very few things to me in my either conundrum of wondering about music or questioning it. In so much so that that little bit of infinitesimal information changed everything about my framework and how I still think about the changing aspect of it today. Mm-hmm. I remember my Uncle John, once we were at an anniversary party, and I was young and listening to rock and roll, and come on, plug it in, turn it up. And this guy was playing some gypsy violin. And that was part of my resistance in my family was like, well, I don't know if I want to get into gypsy music. And like, come on, my grandparents listen to that. And now I'm like, Django Reinhardt, oh my God. that subtle moment of where he said, do you hear that melody? Like coming into me really close. Do you hear that melody? That melody is telling everything about its story.
That is
just that simple thing, right? Like, or another professor I had from Hamburg when I was at college, I had all this question about improv, and I was coming off with like, so da 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 da, and the framework, and I'm thinking about the chords, and what about this, and da 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 da, and he just sits back in his chair like Santa Claus, this big white beard, and just says, "What about A flat?" And my mind still to this day is because of that simple statement. You know what I mean? They've been that those, like I said, very few words, but enough gravity inside of them to make you go, holy cow. It's shown you more than about the answer. It's shown you a way to think about it, Mike.
Wow, that is something too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Stop looking for approval other than from yourself.
Well said. I think that is the best one I've heard yet. So no awards yet, but we're not doing scoring points or anything. That is the best one yet. I think that's fantastic, Ed. So Ed, just want to say a big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Glad to have some coffee with you, and we got to do it again as well too. And yes, cheers. That's right. So
Mike, once again, you know what? I'll have my guitar. We'll play a couple tunes together, brother.
Sounds great. Okay, we'll do it on the next show. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, your website, how do people contact you, and where can people find your music?
Right now, ladies and gentlemen, the video is live on Amazon Prime exclusively for rental and purchase. Part of the proceeds go to Hold Dyslexia to help out young children with their tutoring programs. I'm working on a brand new project called A Recipe for Perpetual Spring. The new release and the single will be out probably by November. There'll also be a video vignette that goes hand in hand with that. Please check that out. Please check out what's going on with Heart Songs for Veterans. Contribute any way that you can as a part of that project. And I thanks so much, Mike, for having me on the show and giving me the opportunity.
Sounds great. And of course, looking forward to having you again soon. You've been fantastic, Ed, and look forward to hearing some of your tunes next time. And do us a favor, keep us up to date.
I will, Mike. Thank you.